Today we are going to go over some basic van life nomad vocabulary. It also kind of ties into RV life as well. I'm sure if you've been on any van life Facebook groups or any van life subreddits, you've heard these terms, but I don't think people always understand what they mean, and people use them in a few different ways. So we are going to be going over boondocking, shore power, graywater, and blackwater. Let's get into it. Shore power, commonly used when referring to ships and boats plugging into an AC electrical grid or main supply. Shore power, or plugging your van into an electrical outlet, is necessary when wanting power for large appliances like a blender or AC units. There's 30 amp, 50 amp, as well as surge protectors and adapters for your van or RV. So I have a 30 amp hookup and I have an adapter. You really, if you're going to connect to shore power at an RV park or really anywhere, you want a surge protector. And that protects all of your electrical in your van, whatever appliances or devices are plugged in to the van when you're using that. And the surge protector will just let you know, hey, it's safe. And like mine has like a little reader on it that'll tell me like the ground wiring is good, everything's good. I do have a Dometic AC unit. It is 13,500 BTUs. AC units take up so much power. So it's not impossible, but it is very costly and not very practical to try and run an AC unit off of solar power. We can talk about that a different day. So we normally don't really use shore power. We normally don't really have it, but when we do, it is nice. Boondocking, also known as dispersed camping, means to be fully off the grid, often little to no amenities like electric hookups, water, or dump tanks or dump stations. Many people now refer to boondocking simply as parking anywhere that isn't a campground. It could be as simple as a Walmart parking lot. However, most Walmarts do not allow overnight parking any longer. So boondocking means different things to different people. Generally, I use the term boondocking when I'm not parked at a legitimate campground or a legitimate camp spot, and I'm not plugged into any shore power. To me, it's a place where, you know, we're not opening everything up and living lavish, setting up shop, if you will. However, some people do consider boondocking, and when van life was less popular, when there was less people that became unhoused and had no choice but to live in their vehicles, boondocking was really meant as like going off the grid, going deep out into the wilderness. But that also kind of starts to tie into dispersed camping. And then you also have urban van life, which is what I predominantly do. Stealth camping. Typically when people are talking about urban camping and stealth camping, it may or may not be places you're necessarily supposed to be sleeping in your vehicle, but people do so if they're traveling through, or they do so if, you know, a lot of people did not choose to start living in vehicles. They have no choice. And it really is a spectrum of, oh, they're homeless versus they're a van lifer. And I think that we should have a little bit of grace with people, but also realize that a lot of Walmarts and Cracker Barrels are no longer allowing overnight parking. And it is sad, but unfortunately certain people take advantage. There's a difference between parking somewhere discreetly in the evening and leaving early, as to not start an encampment, if you will. And a Cracker Barrel near us got really bad. People had tents, they had fires, there were vehicles broken down that were just there 24/7. And it's unfortunate, and I empathize with them, and they definitely need help and somewhere to go. But Cracker Barrel was not meant to be a full-time free campground. So moving on, and you know, these are all wider discussions, you know. Blackwater, the human wastewater that must be kept in its own tank and disposed of properly. Empty the Blackwater tank before leaving any campgrounds. Use designated dump stations at parks and campgrounds. When boondocking, never dump Blackwater on the ground. Find an interstate rest stop or truck stop where you can dump your waste. It's disgusting, first of all, and it's also not good for the environment. And doing stuff like that is going to be a big reason why there's less and less places for people to park. So I do not have a Blackwater or Graywater tank. This is a self-build. I have different videos on my toilet and my sink. We'll link them somewhere, whatever. But I have a camp toilet with X amount of gallons. I only number 1 in it. And we have to dispose of it accordingly. No, I do not just dump it on the side of the road. That is disgusting, first of all. And then I also have a Graywater jug, which has like just, Graywater is like your shower water, your sink water. Okay, so it's not human waste. There are places where you are allowed to dispose of Graywater on the ground. You have to be very careful. It is controversial. If you are going to do that, I would recommend, first of all, making sure you're allowed to do it where you're at. Also, you can use environmentally safe hand soaps, dish soaps, and stuff like that. So just be mindful of what products you're using on your hair, your body, face, skin, hand soaps and scented stuff. Because even if you're allowed to dump Graywater somewhere, the chemicals you're using that are going into that water, probably not great to be dumping. Moving on. Graywater. The name comes from the color of the sink dishwater. Campgrounds will often have dedicated areas where you can dump Graywater. If you're boondocking, you're typically allowed to dump your Graywater on the ground. However, it's best to find a public bathroom or self-service car wash. To dump the Graywater, always check the rules before you dump. And, you know, that really concludes it. Let me know if I missed anything. Let me know if I'm incorrect about anything. There's varying opinions. Like I always say, van life is not one size fits all. There's more than one way to do it. Please be respectful. Please really view these resources as a gift. And we can all continue to do this with a little bit of peace and nobody breathing down our necks, right? So I hope this was helpful. If it was, feel free to subscribe to the channel. We live stream every Friday night. I appreciate all the love and support from everybody that's been here for a while. And let me know what else you want to see. I feel like the videos that do really well on here, stuff that I think is so common every day to me. But if there's something you're curious about, let me know. I'll make a video about it. As always, don't get bamboozled.